Before we begin part 2 of the 10th of February, which I am putting together on the 10th of February, I just want to apologise. I've just listened to part 1 and it's certainly not what I thought I'd put up on YouTube. I can only tell you that this week it's taken me 6 days just to put that up, and there have been a lot of challenges. But God is good, you know, because I was a week in advance of having the videos done. And he knew, of course, that this was about to happen. And, you know, I'm not even running behind for you. So let's begin part 2. The 10th of February, 1924, volume 16. Necessity to write everything in these writings. The good they will produce. Indisputable purity, sanctity, and strength of the doctrine of the divine will. It will be as a new sun in the church, which will renew her and therefore transform the face of the earth. Abandonment in the divine volition. I was thinking to myself about all that was written in these past days, and I said to myself that they were neither necessary nor serious things. I could have done without putting them on paper, but obedience wanted it so, and I had the duty to say Fiat also in this. But as I was thinking about this, my beloved Jesus told me, "Yet, my daughter, everything was necessary in order to make known how to live in my will. By not saying everything, some quality of how to live in it would be missing, and therefore the writings could not have the full effect of the living in my will. For example, on the abandonment of living in my will. If the soul did not live completely abandoned in my will, she would be like a person who lived in a sumptuous palace, and now leaned out of a window, now out of a balcony, now went down to the front door. In this way, the poor one goes through the rooms just shortly or in passing, and therefore she knows nothing of the rule, of the work it takes, of the goods which are in there, of what she can take and of what she can give. Who knows how many goods are there, and she knows nothing about it. Therefore, she does not love as she should love, nor does she esteem that palace as it deserves. Now the soul who lives in my will and is not completely abandoned in it, self-reflections, cares of herself, fears, disturbances, are nothing other than the windows, the balconies, the front doors that she forms in my will. And going out very often, she is forced to see and feel the miseries of human life. And since the miseries are her own property, while the riches of my will are mine, she becomes more attached to the miseries than to the riches. So she will not love nor enjoy the meaning of living in my will. And since she formed the main entrance, one day or another she will go out to live in the miserable hovel of her own will. See then how complete abandonment in me is necessary in order to live in my will. My will does not need the miseries of the human will. It wants the creature to live together with it, beautiful, just as she was delivered from its womb, without the miserable provision she made herself in the exile of life. Otherwise, there would be disparity, which would bring sorrow to my will and unhappiness to the human will. Do you see how necessary it is to make them understand that complete abandonment is needed in order to live in my will? And you say it is not necessary to write about it? I feel compassion for you because you do not see what I see, and that's why you take it lightly. Instead, in my all-seeingness, I see that these writings will be for my church as a new sun, which will rise in her midst, and men attracted by its radiant light will strive to transform themselves into this light and become spiritualized and divinized, and therefore, renewing the church, they will transform the face of the earth. The doctrine on my will is the purest, the most beautiful, not subject to any shadow of the material or of interest, either in the supernatural or in the natural order. Therefore, just like the sun, it will be the most penetrating, the most fecund, and the most welcomed and appreciated. And being light, it will make itself understood and will make its own way. He will not be subject to doubt or suspicions of error. And if some words will not be understood, it will be because of too much light, which, eclipsing the human intellect, will not allow them to understand the whole fullness of the truth. However, they will not find one word which is not true. At the most, they will not be able to comprehend it fully. Therefore, in view of the good which I see, I push you to neglect nothing in writing. One saying, one effect, one simile on my will can be like beneficial dew upon the souls, just as dew is beneficial on the plants after a day of burning sun, or like a pouring rain after long months of drought. You cannot understand all the good, the light, the strength contained in one word, but your Jesus knows it and knows the ones whom it will serve and the good it will do. Now, as he was saying this, he showed me a table in the midst of the church and all the writings on the divine will placed on it. Many venerable people surrounded that table and were transformed into light and divinized. And as they walked, they communicated that light to whomever they encountered. Then Jesus added, "You will see this great good from heaven when the church will receive this celestial food, which will strengthen her and make her rise again to her full triumph." End of the reading. The 10th of February, 1929, Volume 25. One who lives in the divine will lends to it her nothingness emptied, that the Fiat uses as the space in which to exercise its creation. I was doing my round in the creation to follow all the acts that the divine Fiat has done and is continuing in it. Not only this, but my poor mind kept tracing everything that the divine volition had done in Adam and in all generations before and after the redemption. It seemed to me that all the acts done by the divine will, both in the creation and in creatures, were more than sons that I was to follow, embrace, and make my own. And even though I was doing that, my poor heart could not help feeling the tortures of the privation of my highest good, Jesus. And he, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, take courage. In one who lives in my divine will and follows its acts, my Fiat continues its creation, and in each of its acts that she follows, it assumes the attitude of forming its creations. And only when it sees all of its acts in the soul who lives in it, all lined up and ordered like a new creation, therefore a new heaven, a new sun, a sea more beautiful, a flowering more surprising, then is my divine Fiat content. And then, since the act of creating man was the most beautiful, the most tender, done in an ardour of love, the most intense, it wants to repeat over the creature who lives in my volition the acts that we did in the act of creating man. And oh, how my fiat puts itself in feast in repeating its acts, because only in one who lives in it can it have its act of always creating things that it has done as well as new things. In fact, the soul lends to it her nothingness emptied, that my volition uses as the space in order to create what it wants, almost as it used the void of the universe in order to extend the heavens, to create the sun, to put boundaries to the sea, so that the earth might form its beautiful flowerings. And this is the reason why you go around in the acts of my fiat, and as though many waves of light pass through your mind, in which you follow and feel, impressed into yourself, like many scenes, the creation, man in the act of being created, the Queen of Heaven in the act of being conceived, the Word descending, and many more acts done by my will. It is the power of my creating fiat that wants to always do, always give, without ever ceasing. Therefore, be attentive, for this is about something too great, no less than your having to remain in the act of undergoing the continuous act of my creating will. It will feel it has not completed its work in you if it does not see all of its acts enclosed in your soul as the attestation and triumph of its reigning in you. Therefore, all its attention is in looking at whether all of its acts have life in you. And do you know how these acts are created in you? By you, by calling them, recognizing them, and loving them. And my volition, by pronouncing its fiat over your call and over your love, forms the life of its acts in you. And the continuity of its work in you is such that it does not stop even in seeing you tortured by the pain of my privation, because it has much to do, and therefore it moves on. And I let it do so, because you and I must give primacy to our volition in everything for the just triumph of its cause, and to give it the field in order to form its kingdom. End of the reading. The 10th of February, 1932, Volume 30. Labour of God in the soul who lives in the divine will. Harmony between God and the creature. Look out of Jesus in order to have the company of the creature in his works. My sweet Jesus, with his enrapturing strength, always draws me into his adorable will, in order to let me go through the multiplicity of his works, that it seems that they await me, in order to give me something more of what they have given me. And I remain surprised by so much divine goodness and liberality. And beloved Jesus, in order to infuse in me greater love and desire to follow the acts of the divine will, said to me, Blessed daughter of my volition, every time you elevate yourself in it, in order to unite yourself to each act that it has done, and to unite it to yours, the divine act rises and gives you a degree of grace, of love, of sanctity, a degree of divine life and glory. These degrees, united together, form the necessary substance in order to form the divine life in the creature. Some form the heartbeat, some the breath, some the word, some the eye, some the beauty, some the sanctity of God in the depth of the soul. Our acts rise as the creature approaches in order to give what they possess. They await her with anxiety in order to place themselves in the attitude of rising, so as to form their divine outpourings, in order to deposit themselves and repeat their acts in her. In fact, one who unites herself with the acts of our divine will gives us the occasion of letting us labour. But in order to do what? To form our life with our work in the creature. You must know that the creature, by elevating herself in our divine will, leaves everything and reduces herself into her nothingness. This nothing recognizes her creator, and the creator recognizes the nothing that he put forth to the light. Not the nothing encumbered with things that do not pertain to him, no. And finding nothing, he fills it with the all. This is what it means to live in my will, emptying oneself of everything, nimbly, agilely, flying into the bosom of the Celestial Father, in order that this nothing receives the life of He who created it. In addition to this, our will is our life and our food. And since we have no need of material foods, so it gives us the food of its holy works. And as the creature is one of our works, we want to find in her our will as life, so that not only she, but all her works serve as food for us. And we, in exchange, give her our food. This feeding each other the same foods forms the harmony between her and God. This harmony produces peace, communication of goods, inseparability. It seems that the divine breath breathes in the creature and that of hers in God, and they unite themselves so much as to feel as if the breath of one or as if it were one alone with the other. Therefore, harmonies of will, harmony of love, of work occur. We feel that breath that we put forth in the creation of man, that he cut off by doing his will, retied again in the creature. Our will has the virtue and office of regenerating in him what he had lost through sin, and of reordering him as he came forth from our creative hands. After this, I was going around in the works of creation and redemption, and my sovereign Jesus added, "My daughter, our works suffer isolation if they are not recognized as works done for love of creatures, because there was no other purpose in making so many marvelous works in creation than to give her so many attestations of love. We have no need of anything. Everything was done with an intense love for them. Now, if this love of ours does not become recognized in each created thing, our works remain alone, without cortege, without honours, and as separate from the creatures. So the sky, the sun, and other created things are alone. What I did in redemption, my works, my pains, my tears, and all the rest are isolated. Now, who forms the company for our works? The one who recognises them. And going around in them, she finds our palpitating love for her, that yearns for her company in order to give and to receive love. In fact, when you go around in our will, in order to find our works and recognise our love and place yours there, I feel drawn so much that as if always I await you in every work in order to enjoy your company, your cortege. And I feel as repaid for what I have done and suffered. And when sometimes you are late in coming, I wait and place myself on the lookout from within my works in order to see when you are about to come, so as to enjoy your sweet company. Therefore, be attentive. Do not make me wait. End of the reading.